You think you owe money. But what if money actually owes you? Owes you peace. Owes you time. Owes you the freedom you were promised. Debt in the modern world isn't just financial. It's emotional engineering. It doesn't begin with a contract. It begins with a story, one that's been sold to you in whispers. Credit is power. Loans are freedom. You're building your future. But here's the truth. Your future was collateral from the start. You're not just owing the bank. You're owing yourself a life you were never allowed to live, and the algorithms know that. They sense your panic before you feel it. They calculate your urgency, then present a solution with a smiling interface in predatory terms. This isn't about mismanagement. It's about design. Financial systems don't want you to pay off your debt. They want you to repeat it. Because as long as you're stuck, you're loyal. As long as you're anxious, you're profitable. Why now? Because stress is the new economy. Because inflation is high, wages are stagnant, and desperation is digital. Because you're being watched, categorized, predicted, and you don't even realize it. And why me? Because I've been there. I've taken loans in moments of fear. I've believed the illusion of relief only to wake up deeper in the hole. I got out, not by repaying everything, but by unlearning the emotional obedience that kept me begging. Result: you'll feel shame, anger, and then clarity. Objection: but I needed the loan. Yes, and they knew you would. Instant: the bank doesn't profit when you pay. It profits when you stay. Now, you're being squeezed by systems pretending to help. Why? Because you were conditioned to feel guilty instead of exploited. You didn't just wake up one day and decide to drown in debt. It wasn't a single choice. It was a long process of invisible programming, a system that shaped your emotional relationship with money before you ever earned a dollar. You were taught that access to credit equals success, that high limits mean high status, that being able to buy something now, even if you can't afford it, is a mark of adulthood. But that wasn't education. That was conditioning. That was grooming. Financial institutions use behavioral engineering, not as theory, but as infrastructure. Algorithms track your spending, analyze your habits, know when you're vulnerable. They know when your paycheck hits, when your anxiety peaks, when your guard is down. And then, like clockwork, they present an offer. Increase your limit. Split it into 12 easy payments. They frame it as help, but it's data-driven entrapment. Daniel Kahneman showed how we rely on mental shortcuts under stress. These algorithms are designed to hijack those shortcuts, to get you to say yes before you even ask, what's the cost? Robert Cialdini's principle of reciprocity is weaponized here. We gave you credit, now you owe us compliance. Not just financially, emotionally. Because over time you stop questioning. You start identifying with the debt. You tell yourself, I'm bad with money. I'm irresponsible. My credit is ruined. That's not financial language. That's identity collapse. And once your self-image aligns with the system's script, you become the perfect customer. Scared, obedient, silent. Debt becomes your normal. Struggle becomes your brand. And the trap becomes invisible, because now it feels like it's just who you are. There's a shame that doesn't show up on your credit report. A silence that no bank statement can quantify. Debt doesn't just drain your wallet, it splits your identity. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the part of yourself you refuse to face. The part that believes you're not enough, that you'll always be behind. And it's precisely that fracture the system targets. Algorithms aren't neutral. They're designed to detect hesitation, trace vulnerability, and offer relief at the exact moment you're most likely to accept chains disguised as choices. One side of you says, I'm doing my best. The other whispers, I'm already ruined. That's fragmentation, that's psychological debt. You start to live in two timelines, one where you pretend to be in control, and another where you silently collapse under the weight of financial guilt. Gabor Mate would call this dissociation a trauma response. You're not reacting to numbers. You're reacting to the emotional history beneath them. Every unpaid bill triggers an echo. Childhood scarcity, past humiliation, unresolved self-worth. The banks don't need to coerce you. They just need you to internalize the belief that this is who you are now. That debt person becomes your identity. And identities don't fight back. They adapt. You even start to defend the very system that keeps you trapped. Everyone has debt. That's just how life works. But that's not realism. That's resignation. That's what happens when your inner architecture is shaped by an external system profiting from your erosion. Debt isn't just what you owe. It's what you've been made to believe about your own worth. Credit isn't freedom. It's sedation. It's a pill disguised as a privilege. You're told you're making choices, but they're already made for you, crafted by predictive models that know your behavior better than you do. You think you're advancing your life by taking out loans, stretching your credit line, buying now and paying later. But you're not building a future. You're mortgaging your autonomy, and the banks don't want you to escape. They want you comfortable enough to keep consuming, but stressed enough to never ask why. Daniel Kahneman's present bias explains it. We overvalue immediate gratification and undervalue long-term cost. And that's exactly what financial systems exploit. They don't sell solutions. They sell delay, and delay becomes dependency. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote, "You are your own limitation." But you were taught to see credit as empowerment, to believe that financial dependency is a form of growth. It's not. It's a loop. They train you to believe you're free when your card gets approved, when your loan is accepted, when your payment is split. But real freedom isn't convenience, it's clarity. And clarity doesn't come from a screen. It comes from the brutal recognition that you've been sold a lie. You're not living above your means. You're being baited below your sovereignty. And the emptiness you're trying to fill with things, the car, the phone, the lifestyle, isn't material. It's spiritual. No interest-free installment plan can fix that. They don't want you broke. They want you functional, just enough to keep borrowing. And that's not freedom. That's calibrated captivity. Freedom doesn't start with a payment. It starts with defiance. The moment you stop asking, "How do I pay this off?" and start asking, "Why was I trained to accept this cycle in the first place?" You weren't born in debt. You were programmed into it. The rupture begins when you interrupt the pattern, when you refuse to call your cage a convenience, when you realize the debt isn't just financial, it's behavioral, emotional, ancestral. Viktor Frankl said that man can survive almost anything, if he has a reason. And your reason isn't to be debt-free, it's to be self-owned. It's to look at a system built to trap you and say, "I see you." That gaze alone breaks the spell. Jordan Peterson might call it order, the internal structure that supports transformation. You can't rebuild your life if the scaffolding is still guilt, shame, and survival mode. You have to get ruthless with your inner script. Who taught you debt was normal? Who benefits when you feel powerless? Florence Scovel Shinn taught that words shape reality. So speak this. I am not my statement balance. I am not my credit score. I am not what I owe. I am what I reclaim. You won't fix everything overnight. You'll still stumble. But now you stumble awake. Every time you resist the urge to borrow against your future to soothe your present, you strengthen your sovereignty. Real wealth isn't accumulation. It's alignment. It's when your choices match your truth, not your fear. And from that place, you begin to rebuild. Not as a debtor, but as a force. Not in reaction to the system, but in rebellion against your own silence. You didn't escape the system, but you stopped being its servant. That's the beginning of everything. No celebration, no applause. Just the quiet realization that you no longer believe the lie. The lie that says you must owe in order to belong. The lie that tells you survival requires submission. The lie that dressed your anxiety in a suit and called it financial responsibility. Gabor Mate reminds us, healing begins where truth is no longer denied. And here's the truth. The system feeds on your absence, on your distraction, on your reflexes. The moment you return to presence, it loses grip. You're not irresponsible. You're awakening. And awakened people are dangerous. They don't make ideal customers. They pause. They question. They say no. This is your rupture point. Not with anger, but with clarity. Not with revenge, but with recognition. Every debt you carry was once a story you believed. Today you stop repeating the story. Not because you've paid it off, but because you've paid attention. You're not in debt. You were programmed into one. Every payment is a ritual. Every late fee, a moral sentence. Every credit score, a mark of your trained obedience. But debt isn't just math. It's a myth. And the only way out is to stop believing you ever owed. The map below is not a settlement. It's a symbolic exit. Say it now, with the full weight of your awareness. I am not the debt. I am the decision that ends the cycle. Say it again, until your nervous system believes you. Because the most radical act in an economy of dependency is to remember you were never for sale.